But
Yeah. Let's do it. There's like I said, I love just a natural conversation, and we'll see what happens.
right on. Well, hey, thanks for joining me on a Sunday
Of
morning. I
course.
really appreciate it.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of
Of
sports
course.
going on today, but hopefully we'll be done before it all starts. You got your coffee. But I've been excited for this call, man, because I think you've had some great success real quick, and kind of just to
Mhm.
get into it, man. So remind me again, how long have you been in real estate?
Gosh, active. I would say where are we at? Mid-November. I would
Yep.
say officially one full calendar year.
One full calendar year. So
Hmm.
do you know your exact anniversary date, or is this like, hey, this is the anniversary, officially a year?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know my exact date. I do know that I went to a workshop right around November before Thanksgiving. I mean, I can look up my credit card slip because I paid for the workshop, and then I dove right in right after that for the most part.
Nice.
So
What
yeah,
kind
it's
of
been a year.
workshop was it?
It's actually was fix and flip centric.
Oh,
So that's the bulk of my business. And then and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but then through various audio podcasts and various just kind of digging into what the resources are out there. I came upon an interview, and you're going to kill me because I do not remember the podcast, but I came upon an interview from a couple years ago with Adam on someone's podcast, and he mentioned the platform, and then I searched it out, and I jumped right in, and that's where I got a couple of my really good deals. So
nice, nice. So what kind of real estate are you doing? Are you doing fix and flip, wholesaling, subject to kind
a,
of?
a, a little bit of both, a little bit of both. Mostly, like I said, the bulk of it is my first year out. And full disclosure, I'm still a W-9 employee, full time job. I want to say 55 hours plus a week
Wow.
with travel. Yeah, so I manage sales for a Western Regional for a security company. So pre-COVID, I was either in my car or on a plane half of the month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's been a lifesaver having a platform that I can just mass communicate, in the bulks of time that I have. But to get back to your question, I do a little bit of everything. I've done wholesales, mostly fix and flip. Looking into the subject twos, I think will be the next evolution of my business.
Right on, dude. Well, that's awesome to hear that you're just doing this part time on top of a 55 an hour week job, especially a job that kind of makes you travel. That's first off, man,
Yeah,
that's impressive. Congrats. So, how much coffee
thank you.
are you drinking per day then, to be able to do
Quite a
both?
bit, brother. Quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Cheers to
Yeah,
that.
I think. Yeah, I think my first deal probably paid for my annual coffee, so that's important. No, I think I'm one of those guys that like to kind of keep busy too. So I think I function better when I'm busy. When I'm idle, that's when I get in trouble. So I'm glad I have a business that I'm building on top of my busy work schedule. So
Nice, right on. So, when you first started out, did you kind of just, when it came to lead generation, did you just start out with Smarter Contact, or did you try other methods of marketing? But really, what it came down to, you're like, I'm just going to stick to texting and Smarter Contact just because it works well with my work schedule.
yeah, I jumped onto Smart Contact, and just with my first group of blasts, I think my first blast I pulled a list source. So we have I'm based out of Vegas, so I pulled a list source that just did 100% equity. I figure in my mind, if someone has 100% equity, whether it's right or wrong, in my mind, if someone has 100% equity, they have a lot more room to negotiate. Probably means that they bought it a while ago. So, there's a lot of buffer there in terms of being able to get a good deal. So I pulled a massive list, and basically what I did is I broke it down to chunks. I did 300 to 500 blasts at a time. So within my first 1,500 blasts, I got, I think, 6 appointments out of that, and locked in 2 deals. So I mean, it's one of those things where the system proved itself. So I was just like, why not just keep going? I'm not a big guy and trying to bounce around. I'm loyal. If my wife is listening, I'm loyal. So if it works, I stick to it.
Good, good, good. Well, that's good. We got you for life then. All right.
Hmm. Well, again, not to jump ahead, but especially now that you guys offer skip tracing too, it does make it a lot easier.
Definitely awesome. Yeah,
Super,
and we're
yeah,
gonna be coming out with RVM soon. I know we've been testing out our Zapier, so we'll be able to easily integrate with CRMs as well too to make it just as powerful for your follow-ups. But
cool.
man, so yeah, tell me about some of the results. You've only been in it for a year. You're doing this part-time. Obviously, you got some quick
Mhm.
results using our platform. Just what have been your results for this actual entire year for your first year?
Okay. Yeah, and I think just like anything else, if no one, if people are coming into this cold, at the end of the day, just like any business, it comes down to volume and it comes down to a numbers game, right? And I think as you hone your skills, especially in the negotiation part, your results will probably increase. But it has to be a numbers game. You gotta be active and you gotta have the numbers out there to get the ratio in your favor. So my first couple of deals, I turned it into a fix and flip, made pretty substantial profit on it. And the reason why fix and flip, it was coming right after that workshop that I went to that was fix and flip centric. From there, had a couple other, meetings, lost a couple of negotiations where because, I was so firm on my number, I didn't know how to dance around it. I didn't know how to persuade or educate my seller a little bit more. And it's funny because there are deals where I walked away from, and then the next day I found out that he sold to someone that I knew. So for me, I take a step back, I look at that and I say, well, the system works because
Mhm.
I'm getting in front of the right people. I'm getting in front of the motivated sellers. Now I just got to hone my skills to, like I said, raise my ratio in success. But I've got a real nice wholesale from that. The largest one I got so far is 25K.
Nice.
And same situation. Mass text. I think that was a group of 500. Got a meeting. Um, had a bunch of follow-ups via a phone call, and then finally, we sat down, we talked, painted a picture why this, quick close situation is going to be beneficial for the seller. It was a mother and son ownership. They were super happy, locked it in, assigned that sucker within literally when I got back. I opened escrow the following day, got escrow locked in, and I sold it literally within an hour. Um,
Heck
yeah,
yes.
that's it. And I'll be honest with you, that really opened my eyes to the wholesale game as well too. And I'm making on that one deal just as much, if not slightly more, than most of my fix and flips. So
Nice. Congrats,
yeah,
man. That's huge. That's
thanks,
huge.
brother.
So I know it's hard to calculate in your head real quick, like how many leads, but if you just have to give me a quick number, how many leads from this year, or what was probably maybe your average amount of leads per month, and then how many deals so far?
So when you say leads, you're talking about define leads
I'm gonna
for a
say a
second. Let me try
lead
to
is
answer it properly.
somebody who has raised their hand and said, "Yes,
Mm,
I'm interested in selling. Let's talk."
mhm.
So it could be a hot
So
warm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think throughout the year, and by the way, when I say year, uh, don't for a second think that I'm in front of my computer sending text blasts every single day. If I do that, or if I had the time or the situation when I do that, I guarantee you my numbers would be much greater. So I want to be full transparent with my work schedule and everything else. I think I probably do an average of 1,200, 1,500 a month, maybe. I know people that are doing 5,000, 10,000 a month. They have a machine behind them and they're doing crazy numbers. So with that average, I've gotten a total of 7 deals in my first year, and direct correlation with the platform. I just did my books again the other day. 3 of those were from SMS, was from
Nice.
Smarter Contact.
Nice. Now going back to
So
that number
whatever the
real quick.
percentage or ratio, that's a pretty good ratio percentage.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So was that leads or text you're sending out per month?
oh, I'm sorry.
Previous
The
number.
roughly the roughly 12 to 1,500 a month is what I'm sending,
Yeah,
and that's again not every month. That's sporadic. But if I were
yeah,
to average it
right.
out for the whole year,
Hmm.
and I would say that I think what I'm seeing for me, as far as people raising their hand, like you said, I would say for every 12, 1,500 on average, 1,500, you get a handful of people that reply. Out of that, probably 3 are really serious, and out of that 3, we're able to do some deals. So
And that's some great numbers. That's some great numbers just for part time. to be
Yeah.
honest. Just to be able to send out
Thanks.
around
Thanks.
1,500 on average a month, you'll get that many leads and then convert it to deals. That's pretty impressive.
Thanks, man.
So have you been for, let's just go, in general, like of all the leads or most of your marketing campaigns this past year, has it mostly just been 100% equity, or have you kind of tried other lists, or have you kind of just stuck to that one and you've just been consistent targeting that niche of homeowners?
So again, I want to be real honest in this interview. So when you guys reached out to me and said, hey, I want to do a little interview, some code case study with you, because obviously you've had some success. I said, shoot, I better start cranking this a little bit more. So in the last, I want to say, since you guys reached out to me about 3 weeks ago, I pulled another list. So I'm pulling now a list with ownership that has 35 to 65% equity. And I'm pulling lists that people have owned the property 10 years or less. So basically understanding that these people still have a mortgage. Most of them are probably landlords, because I'm pulling non-owner occupied.
Okay.
So with everything that's going on right now with the uncertainty, I think a lot of landlords are kind of getting really cold feet. They're starting to back out, especially if they're remote landlords.
Yep.
It's one thing to own property 5 miles from where you live, but when you're in Montana or something like that, you own 3 properties here, you just don't know. And that I say within the last 3 weeks, I blasted probably 2,000 out, and I have received conversation wise, forget just the feedback, but legit sit down conversation phone calls, I want to say about 15.
Wow.
And one of the ones I sat down, I follow up with her next week, and she owns 3 properties that she's ready to offload. So you just never know. And then I have another one that actually just head out of town for knee surgery, and she's back actually next week, and she owns 2 more properties. So I mean, in the last 3 weeks, by just increasing my numbers a little bit and changing the list I'm pulling from, I'm sitting in front of 2 people that between the 2 of them own 5 properties that they're ready to offload. So
oh man, that's
we'll see
awesome.
what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, it's a ratio thing, but they're pretty motivated. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, good, positive vibes to you to get that one lady who has that 3. But yeah, that's smart to think that way, and I think that's what, especially I can speak for both can speak for a lot of people, especially during this time of, especially when there's a lot of lockdowns. I know in California, the lockdowns were pretty strict. I don't know how they were in Vegas. I know you guys kind of try to open up a little bit earlier than most people just because of the hospitality business. But it's forced, obviously, a lot of businesses, but especially people in real estate, to think differently, do business a little bit differently. But it's also motivated different types of homeowners differently to whether to buy or sell quickly. And I know out in Vegas, a lot of people in California are fleeing and they're going to either Arizona or Vegas. And so I know if let's say you're a landlord in Vegas, now is not a bad time to sell, because you're going to sell it quickly. Especially someone in most likely California. Everybody's fleeing for that no income tax for the state. So
right. And the flip side of that too is, obviously with the rent freeze, the eviction freeze, ending and everything like that. And we are so hospitality driven. I mean, our numbers are horrible in terms of unemployment. So I think a lot of out-of-state landlords feel really, really nervous about, what the future of owning rentals for local, Vegas residents are. So, and I think, what people have to realize too, on a surface level, you can look at that and go, well, shoot, you're coming in, kind of taking advantage of a nationwide pandemic, or I'm sorry, an international pandemic and a horrible situation. No, it's not. It's people that are actually nervous, that own property, that want to offload. And guys like you, me, and anyone else that's listening, we're coming in with a solution. So, keep that in mind as we're doing this. So if it's not going to be you, it's going to be someone else. So you just, kind of figure out, do the right thing for people. And I think that's what we're going to see in the next wave of deals that's going to be happening.
I think so too, especially out here in California as well too. And that's the biggest thing of being an investor. You're right. It's being that resource and being that solution for them, and always be able to find and create a solution for them, no matter what kind of scenario that owner is in. But yeah, I
Right.
definitely think that next wave, it's mostly going to be your absentee owners,
Hmm.
especially people who are out of state. Because if you're a landlord in another state and each state has their own kind of rules right now with
Right.
COVID and everything like that, traveling is limited, traveling can be expensive and all that. So I think those are definitely going to be the next people going to be looking for a solution and looking for help,
Right.
especially the
Right.
just a full on transfer of real estate as well too.
Right.
But yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. And then I guess I'd like to go into like, you've done 7 deals. And like you said, you just had a handful, 15 conversations from a recent list. How have your
Mm.
conversations been going with homeowners? Have you kind of come across any obstacles from, let's say, past deals? I know you said you probably
Yeah.
had deals that you didn't quite get, but you had the appointment. Have
Yeah.
there been any obstacles, especially as a new person, that you've come across?
I'm glad you asked that. One tidbit that I would recommend people to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Especially when you first start out, you want every reply, every conversation to be a deal.
Yeah.
Um, it's not going to be, right? And then after a while, you kind of just sit back and you watch the replies pop up on the platform, and you can tell who's serious, who's not. You know what I mean? Um, uh, Maybe I believe my mom a little bit too much. I think I'm more charming than I am. But when someone comes back and says, "I don't want to sell," don't reply back. You don't necessarily have to reply back to each and every comment and say, "Are you sure?" and all that stuff. I think in the beginning I wasted a lot of time on that. So once I realized that when people say no, or they give you, a house is worth, let's say for example 250, and they say 700,000, talk to me then, and you try to give them a call just because you want to feel like you're progressing. Focus on the conversation and the replies that actually are legit. But to answer your questions, I think as far as once I get them on the phone, I vet them pretty well. I love face to face, so that's just me. I know a lot of people, maybe that's not their deal, but for me, when I sit in front of people face to face, that obstacle or layer of obstacle actually drops down quite a bit. They're less on the offense and they're more receptive. By the mere fact that they're willing to sit down and meet, I think tells you where they're at as far as motivation, right? So I think, going back to your question is, you know, try to visually vet the replies. Don't waste your time on the ones that are kind of just goofing you around or stringing you along.
Yep.
And then from there, do the conversations back and forth and make it brief, make it quick. And if they are wanting to talk, asking to call them live, they're serious, they'll do it. They'll want to talk to you. Anyone that keeps saying no, send me an offer before we talk. Send me an offer before we talk. Those guys are fishing. They're not really interested, in my experience. So.
Mhm.
Yeah.
From the deals you've had, have they all been smooth, or has there been one or a few or just a couple that, while during the transaction, there was kind of an obstacle that you had to really make you think, look for a solution on the outside, or something new that's popped up that kind of
Yeah.
really caught you on your toes that you had to react quickly?
Well, yeah, I'll share this story with you. And she actually has since become a semi, her and her husband become a semi friends because the way I took care of them. And again, it comes back to the solution, right? And I don't know if this is going to answer your question directly, but um, one of the replies was from a lady that lives in Maine. She has a house that her father willed to her years ago, and she's had a tenant. The tenant flooded the house. She wants to sell, but she's waiting for the insurance company to give them money and do all this stuff. And this not necessarily is a wholesale situation; it's a fix and flip situation. But I want to give you a scenario of how you can do deals, because you got to be creative, right? So you listen for what they're wanting to do. At the end of the day, she wanted to offload it, she wanted to sell, but she also wanted to make sure she gets her insurance money.
Mhm.
So basically, what I said was, look, why don't we do this? Why don't we get into contract and escrow for X? And from there, I will front the rehab while you wait for the insurance money.
Wow.
Okay. Once I front the rehab, the insurance money comes in. I will bill you for the rehab. Okay. The money that you spent on the rehab may or may not exceed your insurance claim. 9 tenths out of 10, I would say if you're smart and you work the deal out, let's say let's say the insurance claim says you have an allowance of, I don't know, 80,000. I think if you're smart and you do the deal right, the rehab comes in around 65,
Mhm.
right? On top of the money that we contracted for the deal, there is a nice chunk of change that she can walk away from. By the time we closed escrow, the house was already rehab. So I already owned a rehab house. The deal was locked in escrow, so no one can, try to poach her and what have you. We did a nice clean sale, and I turned around, listed it, and sold it in a day and a half. Quick turnaround. But basically, my point to that is get creative, find out
Mhm.
what the situation is, what is it that they want, then try to find the solution. Because if she had sold it to any other upper, or even a person that wanted wholesale, they would say, this is my price because this is what you need to get fixed up. She lives in Maine. She's waiting for an insurance policy to come in. She doesn't want to have to deal with the rehab or fix up in order to resell it for a
Yep.
best price. So I came in and kind of just acted as her contractor in faith while we have a property locked in at a fixed price that I know I was going to make money on. So, um, that's an example of just being creative on finding out what the seller wants and why they're motivated.
Yeah.
So,
See, that's awesome because you thought quickly on your feet. You didn't let it, kind of, I guess, sideswipe your side to the step of, ooh, maybe this is
mm,
not the deal for me. You quickly found a solution and you just won. And the biggest thing, you just cared. You cared about her and helping her and
yeah.
creating a solution that was a win-win situation. And I know there's a lot of being, especially you being able to figure that out with just your first year of experience.
Mm,
A lot of wholesalers or flipper, even bigger flipper type of rehab companies who might they're a little bit more stern. Either a
right.
situation like that might shy them away, or they might
Right.
just be hard and stern and be like, sorry, we don't work like that,
Right.
because they
Right.
have too many, I guess, pieces moving within their business to, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, really care in a way.
Right. Right.
Not to sound mean,
And
but really just not
no,
really
no, I
care
get it. I
as
get
much.
it. No, I get it. I mean, there's a lot of
So
turn and burn, and there's a lot of turn and burn, and I will say there is something beneficial about being, a smaller operation. Obviously, your margins don't have to be as super, aggressive as someone that has a full staff, or a bunch of marketers, or whatever it is that is an expense in doing business. So, there is that. I will say, and again, I'll share everything because I think that's what the purpose of this call is. One of the things, the verbiage that I've changed in my message, because I am still focusing majority locally, is I end. I don't know if I end it, but in my short, quick first blast, I make it a point to let them know in my message that I live and invest in the area. And for some reason, that, I tell you, gets me way more responses than just an empty Joe Schmo kind of message, right?
yep,
I think there is something emotionally comforting about dealing with somebody that lives in where you're trying to offload your property.
yep,
I think it takes, to your point, it takes away that feeling of some big conglomerate coming in, just turning and burning your property. So
exactly.
just a
Yep.
little, just a little tidbit for anyone listening out there if you want to play around with your message a little bit.
Exactly. And
So,
that's real estate in general. Years ago, I used to be a real estate agent. And the biggest thing is people want to work with somebody who's local, who knows that
mm,
area so very well. There's a
mm,
lot of agents or lenders, yeah, you might be in the same county, but if somebody's looking to live in a specific area or sell in
right,
that specific area, hey, if you've been working or especially living in that neighborhood,
right,
they're most likely
right,
going to work with you just because you know it so well. And the same thing goes for real estate investors. Being able to say like,
yeah,
yes, I'm just a local neighbor, really. Hey, I'm actually a
yeah,
local
yeah,
neighbor. I either grew up here, I've been living here for years, and yeah, I used
mm-hmm.
to eat at that place or go to that bakery or hang out that park.
Oh, 100%.
It definitely breaks down that or builds more trust and breaks down that barrier between you and that homeowner and makes them
Yeah.
definitely trust you more and know that their home is in good hands. So
Well, I mean, we live in a time where it's everything is marketing. Your information's all over every e-commerce site there is. I mean, whether you're in real estate or not, how many texts, emails, that you get just on various things. People are bombarded, right? So, I think, how do you separate yourself? You separate yourself by playing to your strengths, which for me right now is embracing the fact that I'm a small operation, embracing the fact that I'm local, you know, and when I see that the homeowner's name is female, I tend to add my wife and I, because that disarms them a little
Smart.
bit too. You know, just little. I mean, you'd be
Yeah.
surprised, just little key words that
Yeah.
get people, you know, to kind of give you a feedback, right? So, yeah, just another little tidbit.
That's a real smart little tweak. My wife and I. That's really
Yeah,
good. So here's a good question for you, man, because you're
sure.
working 55 hours, you got a full-time job, you're hustling with this, and doing great results. Man, what motivates you aside from drinking lots of coffee? We already got that. What
Yeah, yeah.
motivates you to work, to, I guess, wake up, or not even wake up, or come home from your full-time job and then put in more hours into real estate
Sure,
investing?
sure. Well, I will say that there's a lot of lessons to be learned in life, and in, you know, times that are challenging, right? And I think if COVID has taught us, there's a lot of lessons in COVID, right? That what we're going through now is as a you know, world and a country. But I think one of the biggest lessons that people are learning very fast is that you cannot depend on one sole source of income. Okay. Number one. Number two, anytime you have the ability to control the outcome or the stability of your finances, you got to do it. You got to do it. I have said this many times, and I'm in a unique situation where I have a really, really good relationship with my employer. And I have told him many times, you know, when I get a sales bonus or whatever, and I always tell him, I say, hey, thanks for the opportunity. This was a great month. Not that he owes me or anything like that. And the reason why I say that is because I think people have a tendency, and again, it's a society trap. You get a good paying job, you get whatever, and you just keep rocking and rolling. You buy the nice cars, the big houses. Next thing you know, you are beholden to the job that you once loved that maybe do not enjoy anymore. So I always play the role of my employer and I have a relationship where I produce certain results and I get compensated for it. Above and beyond that, if I want to travel the world, if I want a nice sweet retirement, if I want an extra shiny car, if I want to do stuff for my parents, I need to create that on my own. And that's the mentality that I've had, you know. So when this opportunity in terms of real estate came about, I just grabbed it and I said, all right, so this is what we're doing. So to answer your question, my drive is I want control. I want control of my destiny. I want control of my finances. And I will tell you right now, like I said, I've been in this for a full calendar year. We made 50 grand on the side part time when COVID hit. My wife lost her job. Okay. My wife is in the entertainment. She's a server at Mandalay Bay. And just like 250,000 other people, she lost her job. And just like everyone else, there was worry, there was stress, there was the unknown. But we had all that just like everyone else. But out of nowhere, because of the little side hustle, we had an extra $50,000 cushion. So for anyone that's listening, life will always happen, right?
Yep.
But to be able to have something a little bit on the side, that cushion, that soft pillow to kind of trip and fall on while you kind of recalibrate and reassess, that's powerful. And we experienced that real life. So for us, it was like, wow, I'm sure glad, you know, we kind of start rocking and rolling last November, because life does happen, man. So, you know, I think, again, going back to your question, what motivates me is I want to be able to control the outcome of my finances in my life. So.
Hey, man, yeah, I love that. That's great. And for anyone listening, whether if you're watching this and you're thinking of getting real estate or you're in real estate, I think that's just a good reminder, especially during this time of COVID. That is, I know it's probably reminded a lot of people. I know I've had that conversations with, you know, friends and family who are not in real estate, who have a typical 9 to 5, and it's made
Yeah.
people think a lot. And that's what's great about real estate is you've proven it. You literally have proven it, Rick, that anybody can get in it. And literally, you can have great results within your first year. You know, and anybody can learn this game. And no matter what happens with, you know, politics, no matter what happens with the economy, no matter what happens in the stock market, real estate is always going to be there. Real estate's always going to be there. I just funny. I was listening to a video on YouTube last night of another investor who I like watching on YouTube, and he was like, "Man, if you think about it, people have been paying rent or selling something all the way back to cavemen. Cavemen had lived under a cave back then. somebody was renting a cave to this another caveman.
Yeah,
Somebody was
yeah,
making money. So real estate will always be here no matter what happens.
yeah. Especially the real estate that we're doing. You know, we're doing shelter. You know, we're not doing big commercials or anything. That's a whole different animal in itself. And shelter will always be something that people need, right? One form or another, whether you fix and flip to sell or you become a landlord or what have you. And if you're in that mix on the wholesale side, you're providing a service to the fix and flippers, to the potential landlords and things like that. So that need will never go away, you know.
Mm.
So I think for me, like I said, I'm walking proof that, dude, I'm not that smart. You know, I joke around, just in case anyone is watching, you can't tell, I'm Asian. And I have disappointed my parents many, many times because I'm not a doctor or a lawyer. I barely graduated high school, right? I was not the typical scholastic guy. And for me, the only thing that I had that going for me is I was willing to work hard or willing to kind of bet on myself. And I've always been kind of that way. So no experience in real estate, no experience in business, and I'm learning as I go. So I think the toughest part for most people is making that first step. And you know, if you guys take nothing away from this conversation, is at some point you got to just dive in and just go, man. I mean, especially if you're doing wholesaling, that is probably the lowest risk entry level business you can probably ever think of, and the returns are astronomical. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I'm excited.
Awesome. We'll leave off with one more question for you. And
Sure,
let's
brother.
say what has probably been, let's see here. What is the one skill set that you think every investor or wholesaler should learn, that needs to learn or needs to have in their toolbox in this game?
Learn to listen. Learn to listen. At the end of the day, you're going to deal with people, right? And especially when we first start small. And again, I'm learning. I know there's a lot of wholesalers out there that are doing virtual wholesales. They're doing massive numbers. So they have a system in place to kind of churn in, burn in.
Mhm.
But I think in the beginning, especially when you're dealing where the phase that I'm at one-on-one, is you got to learn to listen, because once you listen, and again, there's a difference between listening so you can respond and actually listening to learn. If you truly listen to the seller, they will tell you how to make the deal.
Yep.
Okay, they're hot buttons. They're revealed to you. Ballpark-ish, their numbers they'll review to you,
Mhm.
you know, and how serious they are, they'll review to you, and that's how you kind of form that deal. And if you can make it so that they feel that they won, I think your ratio and your success rate really goes up. And obviously, there's a lot of layers behind that, but I think if there's one thing that people need to, you know, really focus on is learn how to listen with the intent of truly listening and learning during the conversations. So.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so officially been a year. So
Mhm.
what's your goal for the next 12 months now with your real estate investing business?
So we're definitely going to scale up. Definitely going to scale up. So I think if I end 2021 with a ratio of probably, because I'll be honest with you, I enjoy the fix and flip side of it. You know, there's some headaches that come with it, but that's with every business. I enjoy seeing something that looks like crap and we can turn it into someone's, you know, dream home. Really, you know, we do entry level here in Vegas, but entry level for some people might be the home that they're going to raise their kids in forever, right?
Yep.
So I truly enjoy it. You know, offline I'll send you some pictures of some of our recent projects, but
I would love to see that.
um, so
Definitely.
so that part I'll always do. And for me, if I can, you know, market, you know, through smart contact for my fix and flip, not just wholesales, I think my margin of profit would be a lot better, right? And on the other side of it is I want to increase the ratio of wholesales as well. So if I can end 2021, I say with a 70-30, 70 flip, 30% wholesale offloads, I
Nice.
think I'll be rocking and rolling. So, so if my first year I did 7 completed deals, I want to probably in 2021 probably hit 20 deals, if not
Heck
more, right? You know, and
yeah. Do
we'll
it.
see. You know, let's be conservative. But if I could hit 20 deals, and again, 70% of that is fix and flip locally, and then you know, we do wholesale elsewhere, or when when it makes sense, I think I'll be very happy with that. So
Awesome. Well, you already got the KPIs. So really it's like, okay, how many texts did I send to get X amount of leads? And I got these X
yeah,
amount of deals. So if I got to just double that and get to 20, so it's really just
right,
doubling your input now. So that's
right,
awesome. I'm gonna
right.
stick that to you. 20, too late. You've told everybody. So
No, let's do it.
20
Let's
deals,
do
man.
it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, dude,
Let's
Rick,
see what
thank you
happens.
so much. I really appreciate this conversation. I enjoy it. Maybe we'll have to do another one. Maybe do one, who knows, down in the future, just to see kind of how you're going. This is a
Yeah,
great
man. I mean,
conversation.
nothing better than pressure. You want to check in mid-year, see how I'm doing.
Accountability, man.
Uh, Accountability is awesome. So yeah, no, absolutely. And if you don't mind humoring me with this, I'll make it really quick. For those of you guys are listening, obviously, if you're starting out, I would say generally most people are starting out of this as a side business. You still have your daytime job, regular job, what have you. Um, be in the mindset of a business owner and make sure that you guys respect your employer's time, because it's not fair for them to pay you to do X and you're trying to build your business 80% of the bulk of the time that they're paying you for. Find the increments of time and do your business. Um, Trust me, everyone has Netflix time that they can give up. Everyone has BS time, Instagram time, social media time that they can give up to build their business. So be honorable. And I'm sorry if I feel like I'm on a soapbox preaching, but this is super
Oh,
important to
oh
me.
yeah.
Be honorable. You know, the deal you made with your employer, be true to that. Build your side business to the point where if you ever want to walk away and you have a big business and you start to employ people, you would want them to do the same for you. And I think it really trains your mind to be an entrepreneur. So respect your job, build this on the side, carve out whatever time you can. And I think that'll be a great story for, someone else's interview. So that's my little preaching on the mountain
That's
tidbit
all
there.
good. I love it, man.